Most people spend their entire lives working harder than anyone they know, and still end up broke. Not because they lacked effort. Not because they weren't smart enough. But because nobody ever told them the rules of the game they were playing. And if you're watching this right now, there's a good chance you've felt that quiet frustration before. That feeling where you're doing everything right, saving, budgeting, grinding, and yet the gap between where you are and where you want to be just won't close. Today I'm going to share 8 wealth rules that most people only discover when it's already too late to fully use them. These aren't motivational quotes. These are the principles that silently separate the people who build real wealth from the people who only talk about it. Stick around, because the further into this video you go, the more uncomfortable, and the more powerful, these truths become. And hey, if you're new here, welcome to Henry Wealth Mindset. Hit that subscribe button right now. I release content on this channel that most financial educators are too afraid to say out loud. Let's get into it. I grew up watching my father work 6 days a week at a factory job he hated. He never missed a shift. Never complained loudly. He believed, genuinely believed, that hard work was the path to financial security. And by every cultural measure we had, he was doing everything right. He died with less than $12,000 saved. That moment broke something in me. But it also woke something up. Because I realized the problem wasn't his work ethic. The problem was that nobody had ever handed him the real rulebook. And I became obsessed, genuinely obsessed, with finding it. Here's the first thing I discovered. Most people believe wealth is built through income. It isn't. Wealth is built through the gap between what you earn and what you think you need. I've met people pulling 6 figures who are one bad month away from disaster, and I've met people on modest salaries who are quietly building generational assets. The difference is never the paycheck. It's the relationship they have with the concept of enough. The wealthy don't expand their lifestyle every time their income grows. They expand their assets. They let the money work while they stay disciplined. There's a term behavioral economists use, hedonic adaptation, the human tendency to return to the same baseline happiness regardless of how much more we earn. Rich people understand this and use it as a weapon. They adapt upward in assets, not in expenses. Now here's where it gets interesting, and most people never connect these dots. The second rule is that your financial ceiling is almost always set by your social environment, not your ambitions. Think about that. You can have the biggest dreams in the room. But if everyone around you treats debt as normal, treats financial mediocrity as acceptable, and laughs at anyone who talks about investing, your ceiling is their floor. I remember the first time I started reading about index funds and compound returns. I brought it up at a family gathering. The response was a mixture of confusion and mockery. "Why are you so obsessed with money, Henry?" And for a moment, I felt embarrassed. That social pressure almost pulled me back. It almost worked. Jim Rohn said it decades ago, and it's still one of the most statistically supported ideas in wealth research. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Not metaphorically. Literally. Your income, your habits, your risk tolerance, all of it drifts toward whoever is in your orbit. Audit that list. Quietly, ruthlessly. The third rule is one that costs people fortunes before they understand it. And that rule is this: waiting for certainty is the most expensive financial decision most people ever make. The stock market looks terrifying when you're on the outside. Real estate feels risky when prices are high. Starting a business feels irresponsible when bills are due. So people wait. They wait for the right time. They wait until they feel ready. And here's the brutal truth: the right time is already behind you. The second best time is right now. In 1990, if you had invested just $5,000 into an S&P 500 index fund and never touched it, never looked at it, never panicked, never sold, it would be worth over $120,000 today. The people who did that didn't do anything sophisticated. They just started. And then they stayed. Inaction feels safe. But inaction has a price. And unlike other financial losses, you never get a statement showing you what waiting cost you. Here's rule 4. And I want you to really sit with this one because it reshaped how I think about money permanently. Assets that appreciate are not rewards for being rich. They are the reason people become rich in the first place. Most of us were taught a consumption model of money. Earn it. Spend it. Save what's left. Wealthy people operate on an entirely different sequence. Earn it, invest a portion immediately, then live on what remains. The wealthy aren't richer because they have more discipline. They're richer because they restructured the order of operations. Warren Buffett didn't become the world's most successful investor because he's smarter than everyone. He became it because he started investing at 11 years old and never stopped. Compound interest isn't magic. It's math. But it's math that only works in your favor if you actually start. The fifth rule is where things get psychologically deep, and where most high earners quietly fall apart. Your identity around money is more powerful than any financial strategy you'll ever learn. If somewhere deep in your belief system, you associate wealth with greed, or guilt, or betrayal of your roots, you will unconsciously self-sabotage every time you get close to it. I've watched brilliant people make inexplicable financial decisions. Overspending just after a windfall. Quitting a business right at the point of breakthrough. Avoiding investments because they feel wrong. That's not stupidity. That's identity at work. I spent 3 years making real progress, then quietly undoing it. It wasn't until I sat down and genuinely asked myself, what do I believe wealthy people are like? That I found the answer. I believed they were cold. Disconnected. That money changed people. So every time I started to feel wealthy, I found a way to feel less like them. Healing your financial identity isn't therapy for the weak. It's infrastructure for the serious. Rule 6 will sound counterintuitive until it suddenly becomes obvious. The most dangerous financial advice is the most popular financial advice. By the time a financial idea has become conventional wisdom, by the time your uncle is recommending it at dinner, the opportunity has almost certainly already been captured by someone else. Real estate in the 80s. Tech stocks in the late 90s. Crypto at its peaks. The masses arrive late. Always. This doesn't mean you chase contrarian ideas recklessly. It means you learn to evaluate ideas independently, before the crowd validates them for you. The investors who built wealth in real estate weren't the ones who bought after HGTV made it glamorous. They were the ones who bought when everyone thought it was boring. Develop your own analytical framework. Read primary sources. Think in decades, not quarters. And be suspicious of any financial idea that everyone seems to suddenly agree on. Rule 7 is something I wish someone had screamed at me in my 20s. Your biggest financial asset isn't your savings account. It isn't your portfolio. It's your earning capacity, and most people let it decay without ever investing in it. Skills compound just like money does. Every year you invest in developing a rare, valuable skill, your ability to generate income grows exponentially. Every year you coast, that gap closes. I spent 2 years learning sales psychology, content strategy, and financial literacy simultaneously. Not because I had time. Because I understood that the return on skill development is the highest return available to someone with limited capital. The wealthiest people I know are not just investors. They are voracious learners who monetize what they know. They don't just grow their net worth, they grow themselves. And the 8th rule, the one that ties everything together, is the hardest to accept. Wealth is not a destination. It's a practice. There is no amount of money that will make you feel financially secure if you don't develop the mindset to hold it. Lottery winners lose it. Athletes go bankrupt. Heirs squander fortunes. Not because wealth is cursed, but because without the psychological architecture to support it, wealth is just a number that passes through your hands. The practice is daily. It's the small decisions that nobody sees, choosing not to spend impulsively, choosing to invest when it feels uncomfortable, choosing to learn when it would be easier to scroll. It's staying committed to the process long after the excitement has faded. My father worked harder than any wealthy man I've ever met. He just never had access to these rules. And it cost him everything. You have access to them right now. The question is, What are you going to do with them? If this video shifted something in your thinking, if even one of these ideas hit differently, I want you to do two things. First, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Not because it'll help my channel, although it will, but because this is the kind of content that genuinely changes the direction of someone's financial life when it reaches them at the right moment. And second, subscribe to Henry Wealth Mindset if you haven't already. So that's set for today's video. This is a place for people who are serious. The rules exist. Now you know them. The rest is up to you.